The Wise Squirrel and the Cunning Crow. In a dense forest, there lived a wise and diligent squirrel named Chitra. She was known throughout the animal kingdom for her kindness and wisdom. Chitra had a beautiful treehouse that she had built with her own hands. It was the envy of all the creatures in the forest, and she was very proud of it. One day, as Chitra was collecting nuts for the winter, she noticed a crow named Karan perched on a branch of her treehouse. Karan was known for his cunning ways and was always on the lookout for an opportunity to take advantage of others. Chitra, being a kind and wise squirrel, decided to approach the crow peacefully. "Greetings, Karan," she said with a warm smile. "How may I help you today?" Karan, feigning innocence, replied, "Oh dear Chitra, I've been flying for miles in search of shelter. Your treehouse seems like the perfect place for me to rest." Chitra, always willing to help, thought for a moment and said, "Well, Karan, I'm happy to help you, but I have a small request. If you can assist me in gathering food for the upcoming winter, I'd be glad to share my treehouse with you." Karan, realizing that he had no choice, agreed to help Chitra collect nuts and berries. They worked diligently for days, storing a bountiful supply of food for the winter. Chitra was pleased with their progress and welcomed Karan into her treehouse. As the days passed, Chitra noticed that Karan was becoming more comfortable and taking liberties in her treehouse. He would eat more than his fair share of their stored food and occupy the most comfortable spots. Chitra, being wise, decided to address this issue. One evening, Chitra said, "Karan, it's been wonderful having your company, but I've noticed that our food supply is dwindling faster than expected, and it's becoming harder for me to manage the household chores. Could you please help me by rationing the food and taking turns with the chores?" Karan, who had grown quite fond of his new home, agreed, though reluctantly. However, he had no intention of changing his ways and continued to consume more than his share of the food. As winter approached, Chitra became increasingly concerned about their depleting food supply. She decided to test Karan's honesty and cunning ways. One day she told Karan, "I have discovered a secret stash of the most delicious nuts deep in the forest. I'll need your help to bring them back." Karan's eyes gleamed with excitement. He eagerly agreed to accompany Chitra to this supposed stash of nuts. Unbeknownst to him, Chitra had led him to a remote part of the forest, far from her treehouse. She showed Karan a tree that was filled with nuts and said, "Karan, you can start collecting the nuts from this tree, and I'll keep watch from above." As Karan began collecting the nuts, Chitra quietly returned to her treehouse and sealed the entrance with thick vines. Karan soon realized that he was trapped and called out to Chitra for help. She replied, "Karan, I've learned that it's not wise to take advantage of others. You must reflect on your actions and become a better crow. When you've learned your lesson, I'll release you." Karan spent several days trapped in the remote part of the forest, with limited food and no shelter. He had time to reflect on his cunning ways and realize the error of his actions. He felt remorse for taking advantage of Chitra's kindness. Finally, Karan returned to Chitra, humbled and sincere. He apologized for his behavior and promised to be a better crow. Chitra, being the wise squirrel she was, forgave Karan and released him from his captivity. From that day on, Karan kept his promise. He became a more honest and considerate crow, and he and Chitra lived peacefully in the forest. The animals in the kingdom soon learned about the crow who had reformed his ways, and they admired Chitra's wisdom in teaching him the value of honesty and kindness. The moral of the story is that cunning and deceit may bring temporary gain, but in the end, honesty and kindness prevail. Chitra's wisdom and compassion not only transformed Karan, but also taught a valuable lesson to all the creatures in the forest.